It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this week's episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
And Les Webster.
Hello.
The hell?
Alrighty. Apparently it's a party at Les's house.
Yeah. I would ask how everybody's doing, but I think we already know about Les.
Thinking there may not be ice water this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. It's the Crochet Club is visiting, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure. Blame them.
Sure.
Okay, so what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I say that like there's like something cool every week, but whatever.
Sure.
So this weekend, it was game weekend for me, which is a lot rarer than it used to be, and a lot rarer probably than I would like for it to be. But so, not to go too far back into history, but I am part of, with some other friends, a group of role-playing gamers, or part of a group of role-playing gamers that we meet up. I'd say once a month, but that's pretty optimistic because most of us are fairly busy and can't get together as much as we would like. And we just spent, not to go too far back into history, we just spent somewhere in the vicinity of 10 years, I actually think it was closer to 8, playing a Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition game, which we kind of all got fed up with over the course of the last like 2 years, and so we decided, okay, we're going to give this up and switch to a different game system. So we ended up going with a system called 7th Sea, and it is a much more story-based system than D&D, and it is based around an analog of our world in like roughly 1600. So you've got analogs of most of the European nations, and there's a couple of other little options there. And they spend a lot of time renaming things and rewriting things and groups and places in ways that are similar to the real map and the real history. And there's a couple of like magic options. So there's still very much a fantasy element to it, but there's a lot of pirate element to it as well. And I guess we started that in the summer, and so we're kind of getting into the swing of it and playing, and it's been a lot of fun. So that killed my Saturday pretty much.
Cool.
You're setting sail and fighting on the sea then?
What we're doing right now is we're actually on an island. We're like two of us like work on a ship, and the other two like live and work on this island. And so we've come to this island to find something, and the two pairs of people are kind of working together to find it and solve the mystery of who killed this old guy, and that sort of thing.
Well, that's very cool.
Yep. All right, Les.
Well, one of the previous episodes I made mention of a series of books by Larry Mike Garmon, and I'm in the midst. I've finished 3 of the 6 right now and still enjoying rereading it. These are Universal Monster books. And like I said, I've finished the first 3, which includes Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein. And I'm ready to move on to the last 3 with The Mummy, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and The Bride of Frankenstein. So probably within the next week I will be finished with all of them. And like I said, I'm enjoying them once again.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the spirit of things, I've been checking out horror movies that have been shown on some of the networks. I think I mentioned in one of the prior podcasts that TCM's been doing Christopher Lee as their star of the month, and the other night they were doing a run of his movies, and so I sat here and watched Horror Hotel, which I think was originally called The City of the Dead. It was a 1960 film. A movie that I believe we talked about either on the podcast or maybe during our pre-show meetings, Horror Express, which is funny doing a little research on it. They say it's loosely based on Who Goes There. And for those who are not aware of that story was the basis for the 1958 film The Thing. It was later remade by John Carpenter in '80 and then had a prequel here a few years ago. And I was going, yeah, it's rather loosely based because I don't see it, but whatever.
Extremely loosely based.
Yeah, somebody had a copy of it in their office when they were writing this screenplay.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one we watched at the shop one night? Horror Express?
It may have been. That was the one with the kind of ape man that was 1,000,000 years old that, what was it, like, it sucked the brains out of the victims or something like that. Their eyes kind of rolled back and bled.
Yeah.
It's Peter Cushing.
Cutting edge special effects, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Telly Savalas.
Yes.
And this was, what was interesting, since it's on TCM, they always have little snippets of information before and after the film. And they started filming this after Peter Cushing had lost his wife. And he really was not up to doing the film. And he was ready to quit. And so Christopher Lee turned to the director and says, "Don't worry about this. I'll handle it." And basically took Cushing out to dinner and spent the whole evening reminiscing about some of the stories from their prior filming, being on sets and stuff, and basically made Peter forget about what had gone on, of his loss. So basically, Cushing stayed on with the production, and then that Christmas, Christopher Lee invited Cushing to spend Christmas with his family. I thought that was a really nice thing.
Yeah, totally. What a guy.
Yeah. The third one was The House That Dripped Blood, which after watching the film, it was like, there was no blood dripped anywhere.
I was just going to say, I don't know that I've seen that one, but
It's an anthology film. The first one stars Denham Elliott, and for those who may be familiar with that name, he was Marcus Brody in Raiders Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He was the
is he like the department head or something?
department head, but he was also the curator of the museum as well.
Right.
So hopefully that jogs some memories there for y'all out in the audience. The second one was a Peter Cushing story. The third one was Christopher Lee. The fourth one was John Pertwee and Ingrid
Pitt?
Yes.
I take that back. I think I have seen this.
Yeah, because the last one was where Pertwee got it. I guess it was Dracula's cloak, or it was a cloak that had power. And it was kind of an interesting little movie. So 3 really really good scary movies, but there was another one that really really scared me. It really frightened me. I was like, why was this even made? And it was called Beach Blanket Bingo, with Frankie and Annette and Paul Lynde and Buster Keaton, and you're going, yeah, this was a paycheck thing, wasn't it? Oh god, so bad. And one of them I could not get. There was another one I could not get through. And I'm sorry, Les, because I know we talked about it. Hillbillies in a Haunted House.
Yay.
I could not get through that movie.
Joy Lansing? Come on.
The problem is every couple of minutes they had to stop down and sing, and I can't.
I've never been able to handle musicals either.
Well, it's not really so much a musical as we got to throw rock. It's almost like an Elvis Presley film. That's the movie is essentially, or at least what I got through, it was essentially set up to where they can stop down every couple of minutes to do a song. And the thing is I don't think I got far enough to even see Merle Haggard, and he was listed in the credits.
Yeah, that may be a sit down for us all.
If he was in it and I saw him, I certainly did not recognize him. But we're talking, what year are we talking about, Les? 60...
Oh, wow.
66 maybe? I'll have to pull it up.
Maybe we can do a double feature with that and Clambake.
Woohoo! Now, Clambake's funny just to see Bill Bixby be the player. The guy who's a speedboat driver who's just so freaking awesome, and the girls just flaunting all around him. That's why I stopped down and watched that, because I'm like, okay, yeah, no. And Shelley Fabre, I mean, you got to watch it because of her. Very cute.
Hillbillies in a Haunted House, 67.
Ooh, I was close.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was a little bit more movie intensive this past week than normal.
Well, that's very fitting given our topic
It's
this evening.
It's very fitting considering what we're going to discuss about for this week. But before we get into our topic, I do want to take a couple minutes to mention, I know some people out there in the listening audience are aware, but we do have a sponsor now. We actually have two sponsors now. Things from Another World and Make Mine Indie have joined forces with the Fellowship of the Geeks website and podcast. Yay!
Woohoo!
Huzzah!
So we have a sponsors page on our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. If you go to our sponsors tab, you can see some of the great deals that Things from Another World are currently offering. Just for this month, just for another couple weeks, you can save $5 on anything in stock. Order has to be $60 or more. And the other deal that's current is free domestic shipping on your order of $50 or more of comics and or graphic novels. So if you go to our website and go to our sponsors page, you can see some of those deals, but next to those deals is a link where you can go, and that'll take you directly to Things from Another World and check out all the good things they have there. It's a really cool website. Some of the regular deals they have are 40% off on comics, statues, toys, and merchandise, 30% off a select pre-order manga titles, and there's also 50% off Nick and Dent comics and graphic novels, which that's a great deal. If you don't mind a little dent here, a nick there, you get your comic or books at 50% off. Hey, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well worth it.
Yep. And Make My Indie is obviously an indie publisher. The link on our website will take you to their latest catalog. It came out in September. They do a quarterly catalog of indie titles that are not available through Diamond or other distributors. Well, most of them are not. So a lot of really cool titles in the catalog. I know when the first one came out about 4 months ago, I looked at it like, wow, I need to pick some of these up, and there's more titles because there's more publishers in this next one. I think how many additional pages, Mike, do we remember? It was about another 30 or 40?
It was something like it was. I think it was another, yeah, like 30 pages more,
So,
larger.
yeah.
And they do. There's some. I mean, there's some really good stuff in there. Really, I was blown away with it. How much awesome stuff there is in there.
Yeah, they they give you a little synopsis of all the stories, and that's what hooked me on a lot of them. So go check them out. Go to our website www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Go to our sponsors page and check out our sponsors, and they would appreciate it, and we would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, for this week's topic, we already kind of alluded to it. We are back to our horror month after taking a slight detour to have Terry Moore on to discuss his new book, Motor Girl, and we do appreciate him coming on with us.
Motor Girl is expressly not a horror book, so that's why it was kind of a detour. But
yeah, that's why it was a detour. For this week's episode, we decided to talk about our favorite scary movies. Now it all makes sense, doesn't it? I knew it would. Wes, what's one of your favorite scary movies?
I'm going to start with Psycho. We've talked about this before. This was a title that struck me. You knew who the killer was. Yet, Alfred Hitchcock proved that he is the director of suspense. He knows exactly how to manipulate you. The way the twist was in the movie was fascinating. Yet, to me, it was a psychological horror movie. It just was something that I had not seen before. That was 1960, I believe.
yes.
Yeah.
And I was a mere infant when I went to see this. But I was...
Sorry.
It's true, man. I think I was 9 or 10 years old. So, yeah, it kind of scarred me. But it was so engrossing. It was so good. It was one of those that I wanted more of a story. I wanted a little more. But then they came out with other movies. I said, please put it back in the can and let it go. I love Psycho. I thought it was just brilliant on so many levels. Have you guys seen it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I agree. It is genius.
It's a great story that was told real well. One of the things I think sells the whole thing, and we discussed this before, is Anthony Perkins' performance. Up to that point, he's pretty much been the boy next door. The kind of the goofy, shy, but all around good kid. And then you see this movie, and there are certain roles that they talk about, actors being typecast, and this pretty much after this film, he couldn't do the boy next door or the young man next door. After that.
But I'm thinking that he did Fear Strikes Out before this one. And that, to me, kind of set it up that he could play a psychotic person.
Okay.
Fear Strikes Out was a really good movie, too. And it's based on a true story. God, I can't even think of the baseball player's name now.
But after that, what movies did he do besides Psycho after that?
Oh, I have to agree. That's true.
There's The Black Hole, but,
he was psychotic in that, too.
Well, okay. All right. But, yeah, an awesome movie. I can't think of a flaw in that film. Just the way it was done, the story, The acting, everything was just great.
I agree.
Yep, Hitchcock at the peak of his powers.
And so unique, and of course, yeah, spoiler for a movie that's 40 something years old. Your lead actress is killed off in the first 10, 15 minutes of the film, 20 minutes in the film.
Yes. And of course, she was the one that couldn't take a shower anymore after that movie. She claimed that she could not take a shower. She had to take a bath.
That had never been done before.
True.
And it doesn't really happen all that often now. I remember when the first Scream came out, and you saw all the cast, and one of the bigger names was Drew Barrymore, and then they kill her off. Spoiler for a movie that's 30 years or 20 something, 25 years old. Kill her off the first couple of minutes of the film.
Yeah.
That's almost the same. It's almost the same thing. It just doesn't happen that often. So when it does happen,
if it does happen, you better do it well because
yeah,
it's a gamble.
It is a gamble.
You're gonna risk people getting up and walking out of your movie because the star they came to see just bought the farm 10 minutes in or 20 minutes in. It's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And Janet Leigh's daughter ended up being a Scream Queen.
Pretty much the original Scream Queen.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
And now she's on Scream Queens.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Very, very cool pick. I agree with it.
Hard to argue with that one, really.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue. Mikey.
Oh, I'm next. Okay.
You're next. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to go for a change even older than Les went. I'm going all the way back to, and I know I've talked about this one recently, I'm going back to the 1931 Dracula. And this is fun if you get the opportunity, and this is one of those kind of Dracula lore things that you hear about. But one of the interesting things about Dracula is actually has very little to do with the movie itself. One of the things that was a little more common back in those days was they would, because they didn't really have, there was no way to do like closed captioning or anything like that, and overdubbing was difficult. So a lot of times they would shoot a foreign language version of the film while they were shooting or right after they shot the English language version. And so what they were doing with Dracula was they were shooting a Spanish language version when the English language version was like taking a break for the night or the day or whenever they happened to be shooting. They kind of alternated. And they brought in a different director and they brought in different stars, and they all obviously spoke Spanish really well. But to watch these movies back to back, and you can do it nowadays. You can do it. I have a DVD set of which has like 5 or 6 Dracula movies, and it's got both of these on there. And to watch, so you can watch the Spanish one closed captioned. To watch them back to back is, if you're into film at all, it's a really enlightening experience because they're very different films. I mean, they're based on the same story and they've got the same characters, but the direction is drastically different and the performances are drastically different. The guy who played Dracula in the Spanish version, Dracula is being played by Bela Lugosi, who is the iconic Dracula even to this day. The guy who played him in the Spanish version was this like tall, kind of handsome Latin-looking guy, and he was, wasn't really didn't have any exposure to Lugosi's version. I mean, he might have seen them when Lugosi was doing it as the stage play years before, but didn't really have any exposure to it, and is a different Dracula, but with a lot of the same kind of styles underlying. And it's just really interesting to watch the contrast between the two versions. I mean, and that said, the Todd Browning Bela Lugosi version is still one of the defining Dracula moments. It's what people one thing that people don't often realize is that this movie was not directly based on the Bram Stoker novel. It was based on the stage play that had been adapted from the Bram Stoker novel. because the Bram Stoker novel had been very loosely adapted for film without permission in the 20s. You don't necessarily have to be a vampire movie fan to have heard of Nosferatu. This was a German film, silent film in the 20s. I believe it came out in 22. And come to find out, they didn't actually have permission to use that story. And so there was a legal battle, and the movie was almost lost because the copies of the film had been rounded up and destroyed, basically because they lost the lawsuit. And so there were really only a handful of copies that were found later on, and so it was restored. But so that's then the official version became this version that was written specifically for the stage, and that was kind of how Lugosi got his start. Was they had stumbled across him and thought he kind of looked the part. The kicker, of course, being that Lugosi was from Romania, I believe, didn't speak a word of English at the time. So they basically had to teach him his lines phonetically until he got to where he could speak English well enough to pull them off, which he had done by the time the movie was shot. Okay, I feel like I'm kind of taking over here. I need to let you guys comment, but this is one of my favorites. So
it's a tremendous movie. No two ways about that. And like you say, if you watch the two versions back to back, or just watch the Spanish version alone, I think most everybody has seen the Todd Browning. But if you watch the Spanish version, it's spectacular. And to me, it is above what Lugosi turned in.
A lot of people feel that way too.
The lighting alone of scenes is vastly different. And to me, it was superb in the Spanish version. It just wasn't hit with Lugosi on stage. It was that different. And Todd Browning has had his share of horror movies. Freaks was one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a spectacular viewing.
It is a very creepy movie.
Yes, there's I don't know if there's anything creepier than seeing a man with no arms, no legs crawl through the mud with a knife in his teeth.
That is one seriously creepy scene.
But I have to agree, Mike. Dracula is a great choice.
Yep, I agree. I kind of feel left out. I have not seen the Spanish version. I have heard about it. I've seen bits and pieces here and there when I see references to them filming that version alongside the English version. Yeah, I love classic Dracula. It's such a great film. Lugosi you can see how he became an icon, or at least his image is the one that you think of, or a lot of people think of when you think of Dracula. You can see how that happened. Awesome. Yeah, I like it. I hadn't watched it in a while. I guess I'm about due. I need to find out if someone's showing it here soon. Just in time for Halloween.
Probably. You'll probably catch it. If you keep your eyes open, you'll probably catch it.
Yeah, I'm sure TCM will. They're pretty good at showing some of the classic stuff.
It's in their name, after all.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Yeah.
My first pick has already been mentioned, and it's one that we had already talked about in a prior episode, so y'all will probably not be surprised that I'm going to mention it. Halloween.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, you're not surprised. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't be surprised.
No.
Just a nice story that's pulled off real well. And the thing is it's something that it can happen today. I mean, it's basically someone stalking a babysitter. Essentially, more if you really want to boil things down, but he's careful enough to where you just see him here, there. There was the mystique of the Shatner mask that was painted white. That's just just kind of a void face. You know, you got these other guys, you got these other killers you got the hockey mask, or you've got a grotesque face or something like this. This is a humanoid face, but it looks like it's devoid of life. And I think that's a creepy element to it. And of course, you never see the eyes, so that also adds to it. The music is great. I remember hearing stories of one of the studio higher ups, seeing a rough cut of the film before the music was put in, and they said, "This is not a scary movie. You know, you're gonna have to do something with this because it's not scary at all." And then fast forward to when the movie actually comes out, that same higher up approached Carpenter and says, "I don't know what you did, but that was a scary film. Oh my God." And all that really changed was he added the music.
At times, that's all it takes.
That's right. I think it's something that we, as a viewing audience, sometimes underappreciate. The music sets the scene, and it can evoke emotional responses, whether it's, in this case, terror, or it could make you feel real good, or it can make you feel sad. It's not something to be taken lightly. So, I mean, all the elements were there for such a great movie experience.
And even if you don't appreciate horror movies, it's a movie that should be watched by film students, if for no other reason than to just get a glimpse of what can be done with simplicity. There's nothing particularly complicated about this movie, including the things that you're praising as being the scary parts and the stuff that evokes the emotion, and that's the deal. It doesn't really take that much. The music, yes, the music evokes great emotion throughout the movie, but if you just listen to the music by itself, it's just a handful of notes. It's very simple. There's nothing complicated about it, but it's the right notes and at the right time and at the right pace. And that's the deal. And the story, like you said, the story's not real complicated. It's just some dude hunting down a babysitter. But what they do with that story is the deal, and that's where it gets fun. I mean, you get a lot of death imagery with Myers, and a lot of, I think we mentioned before that Jamie Lee Curtis, pretty much the original Scream Queen, and that scream. I mean, if you think about Michael Myers as death incarnate, then that scream is obviously the scream of life.
Right.
As long as she's screaming, you know she's okay. I mean, not okay, but alive.
I'm not dead yet.
I feel better. I want to go for a walk. Anyway, that's not a horror movie, but
no.
Yeah. So it's an exercise in the art of simplicity in filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. And it had to be simple because they had no budget.
Well, sure. That's a good reason to keep things simple.
Right. You know, they had to figure out how to do things that, and they did it and it worked. You don't have to have a big budget to do things. Just have a good story and do your best to tell it well and hope that everybody believes in the project and it should work. So, alrighty, Les, you're up again.
I'm going to go with a movie that I found really good because of the concept, and that was 30 Days of Night. It was originally a comic book, and it just intrigued me because the possibility of vampires roaming around in Alaska in the northern regions because they had a span of 30 days of nighttime. To me, the concept was so intriguing. You don't have a way to stop them unless you read the books or see the movie. But when you first think about it, you go, how do you stop the vampires when your sunlight is a month away? And I was just taken by this one. I thought that I was enthralled by what they could do and bring forward from the concept. And that was Steve Niles, I believe, that did the story, did
Right.
the comic book.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I find it watchable over and over just because of the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, when I mentioned it as part of our favorite horror literature, one of the things I said was one of the things that intrigued me was it was a story element that is such a no-brainer but had not been done before. That was one of the things that really got to me, and that's one of the things I really love about comics. If someone can come up with it, well, hey, why hadn't this been done, and does it, and the movie just carries that forward, and it was a very good movie. I enjoyed it. I like that one a lot. I know there's been a couple of sequels. I've not seen those, but the original was awesome. One of the things that still sticks with me about that film is the scene where you are overhead and you're kind of like you're flying and you're seeing the attacks go on underneath. That's a striking image. You've seen the vampires attack the citizens of this little town.
Yes.
And oh my God, I was just floored by that little sequence. That to this day I can remember it, and I have not seen the movie. I can't remember the last time I've seen it. It's been a while. I'm overdue, but it stuck with me because it was like, oh my God! Once again, that's something we've not experienced before, or if it has been done, I haven't seen it. But it was so striking.
Yeah, for me, what made that movie was Danny Houston's performance.
True.
He was just so damn creepy. I mean,
Yeah,
didn't never spoke a word of English,
right.
and just, oh man, that guy was just creepy. He was just like the embodiment of animal lust, and it was amazing. I mean, and it was a good movie. Otherwise, don't get me wrong, but that was what made it for me.
Right. I agree.
Leave it to me to sympathize with the vampire, but anyway.
Sure.
You bloodsucker, you.
Mm,
Cool. Mikey.
I'm up again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, this is the point where my list takes a decided turn, and I'm moving forward in time. Somehow I'm doing these in like chronological order for my list anyway, not necessarily for you guys. But so my second movie is, to go back to John Carpenter for a bit, In the Mouth of Madness.
Mm.
Yeah, we start the Lovecraft twist here.
Oh yeah.
So, if you are not familiar with this movie, it is a really fun movie. Came out in '95. Stars Sam Neill as an insurance investigator, perfectly normal job, who is hired by a publisher to find the publisher's star author, who writes these horror books. And he's written, I forget, something like 7 or 8 so far, and he's late delivering the latest one. And so the publisher sends this guy along with his editor to find Sutter Kane. And so they traipse off into New England and start looking for where this guy supposedly lives, because they don't really know, they don't have an exact address for him, because usually the writer just sends stuff to them. But so they're just tooling along down the road in their car trying to find him, and all of a sudden, poof, they appear in the town from the stories. And it just starts to get fun from there, because the people in this town start telling them that they're part of the story. And they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. We're just here to talk to Kane. And it gets it turns Lovecraftian from there, and it is not clear who is in control of the story or of Trent's life, and it's fun. The end of this movie, the last scene of this movie, and this is hopefully not too much of a spoiler because it's one of my favorite scenes of any movie. When the end, everything has gone to hell, civilization has gone to hell, and Trent walks out of the hospital he's in and just walks to a local movie theater and sits down and starts watching the movie that he's just lived through. And basically the final scene of this movie is Sam Neill just doing this absolutely maniacal laugh. And it is just it's really chilling. It's really cool.
Agreed. It's a total mindfuck, but I love the movie. You start questioning reality along with Simon Trent.
John.
Was it John Trent?
Yeah, John Trent.
Okay. I remember it being Trent, but I was okay, John Trent. All right. Anyway, just some of the scenes you see him being repeated over and over again.
It's hard to describe, honestly.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe this movie.
Him trying to escape the town, and then all of a sudden he's right back where he's at, but he's not deviated from the street or the road and all that. It really messes with your mind. But yeah, it's a fun, evil movie.
There's a good adjective right there. Evil. It is a good movie, but it shows it thrives to me on evil as to what is transpiring.
And wasn't Jurgen
Prochnow? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Kane.
He was Kane. A great cast too. I mean, Charlton Heston. Mm-hmm. Wow, it's just a nice little movie. I think it's underrated.
I think it's very underrated.
Very good choice.
Yep, I agree. My next choice is what I don't know if I've mentioned this description on our show, but I think I did on our friends Sci-Fi FX on their podcast a few years ago, as I describe it as a haunted house in space, and I'm talking about Alien. Such a great looking film. Once again, a nice simple story. You don't really see the monster until about the end. So it could be anywhere. You get a snippet there. You get a snippet there. A great cast. Once again, the music's awesome. And it's actually, isn't it kind of loosely based on a sci-fi movie from the 50s, I believe? Called It. The Terror from Outer Space or something. I believe that's what the story's kind of based off of. But just such a great film, and obviously so well received to have so many sequels. But the first one, man, it's hard to top that one.
Yeah, you get the effect of like the old submarine movies from like the World War II era, except instead of the horror being outside, being the Nazis, it's inside the ship with you, and it's tearing people to pieces. So yeah, it's a in a way it's kind of an early variation on the slasher, but in a way, and it's done it's so atmospheric, and the lighting is just it is amazingly shot. It is a very cool movie to watch, just in terms of just seeing how.
It's a great visual film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, very, very good one.
I remember seeing this when it opened, and one of my coworkers and I decided that since we read the book, that we were going to sneak out of work and see the movie, which we did, and just sat there with our jaws open watching this whole thing. It was that amazing, that different, from what we had seen before.
It's an unbelievable film. It's kind of hard to describe how just great it is. It's definitely one that everyone should watch, whether you're a sci-fi fan or a horror fan, or if you want to appreciate how well a film can be made. When just once again, it's everybody. It was just everyone brought their A game.
Another great cast too.
Yes, another great cast.
Yes.
Awesome. Les.
My third movie is one that I had nightmares from when I first saw it. There was something about seeing little yellow eyes staring at you through gauze that frightened the crap out of me.
Not everybody had that reaction to Snow White, Les. I mean, come on. You just got to let go. You just got to let it go.
But let me take my deep breath.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm better. Thanks, guys.
Happy to help out.
No, the movie was The Time Machine. Just the scene with the Morlocks underground coming at the hero, and all you saw were like I said, the yellow eyes and the moss or gauze that was across the mouth of the cave that the hero and his group were cornered. That one scared me bad. And that was 60, I believe, early 60s. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, but at that time I said, I can't do this. I ended up sleeping with one of my siblings because she heard me crying. My sister said, well, come up here, stay with me, and I finally got to sleep, but it did scare the crap out of me.
Huh. Wow. I never really thought of The Time Machine as a horror movie. I can see where, there's some visual effects there that are pretty wild, pretty intense.
It is an awesome movie. George Powell, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Some great visual effects. It's an awesome movie. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mike. I hadn't thought about it, but I could see that. I could definitely because
especially if you're like 8 years old.
yeah.
I mean, I was in my teens before I saw that movie, so it didn't really have that effect on me. But hey, I could see that freaking a kid out, sure.
Yeah.
It freaked this kid out, that's for damn sure.
But I mean, going into the future, and you see basically civilization deteriorate to the point where you're talking about the Morlocks, and then what humans were left and all that. Yeah, I mean, that's horrific.
Sure.
Very good choice.
Thanks.
Mikey.
Okay. Now I think I might actually stump you guys on this one.
Uh-oh.
Partly because it's a much more accurate depiction of a Lovecraft story, but also because it's a German film. Back in 2010, some guys from Germany did a version of Lovecraft's story, The Color Out of Space. And this is essentially the story of a young man who's trying to find his missing father. And so he ends up going into like some rural parts of Germany, like up into the mountains, and exploring kind of this mountainside where this house was, and kind of uncovering some of the things that had happened in this house years before. And the way this story, and it's very, very weird, creepy stuff. Essentially the culminate, and in this sense, I mean, the story may have been a bit of a precursor to the Blob, to the original Blob movie, because in what sparked the happenings in this particular house was the crash landing of a meteorite nearby, and the whole thing is, it's basically taking certain perceptions and twisting them a bit. I mean, and twisting things is one of the things Lovecraft did best anyway. But, and the story, they kind of tell the story in sort of flashbacks, which is kind of through stories that this guy gets in the local town, and everybody, of course, warning them not to go out there and all of that. And you do kind of have to get used to the subtitles, but that's okay. It's still worth it. It's a very, very cool, very creepy. It's mostly shot in black and white, and it's a very, very dark movie with a lot of really, really creepy imagery.
Yeah, I've not seen this. It does sound interesting.
And it's very kind of slow and plodding, and everything moves very slowly. And so in that sense, I mean, it's definitely like a foreign type film, but you don't get lots of explosions and stuff. And there aren't, I mean, even at the end when you're learning everything that went on, it's still not necessarily all that clear, and B, it's not an action movie at all. It's just this. It's hard, again, it's another one that's kind of hard to describe because most of it's almost solely visual. There's like the last half hour of this movie, there's very little dialogue at all, and it's a very cool interpretation of the Lovecraft story.
Cool.
That is nice. I like that. I have not seen this one either, so I may have to start digging.
Yep. We may have to check that one out.
I think I saw it on Amazon Prime, so
Okay.
if you've got that, check it out.
Okay. Sounds cool. It's kind of funny because my third pick is a foreign movie as well.
That is funny.
It's a Spanish film called Rec, R-E-C. There was a English version or English remake of this film known as Quarantine. And the premise of the movie is a reporter and a cameraman for a show decide to do a story, spend the evening with a local firehouse with some of the guys and just kind of explore the life of a fireman. And they get called out to this apartment complex for a person who's sick. And over the course of the few hours, the tenants of this apartment, the firemen, the emergency responders, policemen who were reported to this incident, and the media people are trapped in this building because people are turning into these creatures and are attacking other people. I had actually watched Quarantine first, and then watched Rec, and there is a difference, and I prefer Rec. In Quarantine, they explain the reason why this was going on was it was a kind of a germ warfare creation that was causing everybody basically. It was kind of treated like rabies, except for to a higher level, which was a kind of interesting idea because, I mean, at the time that these movies came out, obviously it's been a little bit more recent, so with 9/11, the whole thing with powder in the mail and all this kind of stuff, you can see why the U.S. filmmakers went that route. But the Spanish version is they treated it as devil possession, that the devil was possessing all the people who were bitten, and there was a conspiracy. The Catholic Church were aware of this, and they had been dealing with this for years and all that. It's another one of the first-person camera things, because a lot of it's told through the cameraman's point of view and that. But just a really good movie where you don't know what's going to happen, and the first person obviously plays an effect in that. The subtitles didn't bother me at all, and I thought it might, because I'm having to avert from the action to read what's being said, but just such a great film. And there's actually been 2 sequels and a prequel. I'm not sure if the second sequel has come out, but I've enjoyed those just as well. And where Quarantine, there was a sequel to Quarantine, and that didn't do so well. But just a great film. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
No, I can't say I have.
Not me either.
Yeah, I highly recommend Wreck. It's really good. It kind of had me on my toes a lot just watching it. It kind of had you on edge because you know something's going on and you're not sure how things are gonna be resolved, and a little suspenseful.
Cool. Just slightly.
Yeah. Slightly.
Just a little bit. Just a bit.
And like you say, there are 2 sequels to it, so.
To Wreck, yeah. Technically, the second one happens. There's a little bit that takes place before the events of the first film, but some of it's like minutes after the first film ends. And then the next one is a prequel. It kind of says, this is how things started.
Ah, okay.
And then there was supposed to be a 4th one, but I don't know if the 4th one's ever come out.
I don't see a listing for it.
But I enjoyed the heck out of it. I've seen the 3rd one or the prequel once. I would like to see it again, but the other ones I've seen multiple times and enjoyed every time.
I have to check that one out.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't think I would like it, but I guess I after seeing Quarantine, I was like, okay, I need to see where things differed, and then the fact that, once again, the original outshines the remake, but they're both really good films. I just think Wreck is superior, and I guess the whole thing with the handling of more of a spiritual or a religious connotation to the events as opposed to a biological, more scientific. I guess that's what intrigued me more. I don't know. I just digged it more. Cool.
Very good choice.
Yeah, some great movies there, and one that I wasn't even aware of, so I'm gonna have to check that out. So, good job, guys.
Woo.
Any final thoughts before we wrap things up and move on?
No.
Of course, we could go on a lot longer and have more picks, but we decided to keep it to 3.
Yeah, let's try to keep this episode under 2 hours, please.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I do have one shout out, and that was a TV movie, a 3-part TV movie with Karen Black, Trilogy of Terror. There was something about the 3rd story and the devil doll that is kind of unnerving, because it could happen if everything was to what was given in that story. And it was, all I have to do is make the sound that the doll would when he would attack, and my wife will hit me with something.
She hits you with something anyway.
Well, this is a bigger frying pan.
That explains where the fear comes from anyway, so.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I just want to let people know that even that is a good program, and it is out on DVD also.
I have to say I have not checked this. I've heard of it. I've not watched it. So we've all come up with films that the others have not seen. Awesome.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Alrighty, so when we come back, we'll have weekly picks and wrap this episode up. And we are back. It's Weekly Picks, and leading off this week is Mike.
Alrighty then. Since I've been nominated to lead off, I'm going to lead off with a Dark Horse book. It is Aliens Defiance. Number 6 comes out this week. This is Brian Wood doing Alien, and Tristan Jones does the art. But this is a nifty little story. This is actually more reminiscent of, or just as reminiscent of Alien as it is of Aliens. And the main character is a colonial marine named Zula Hendricks, and she has been sent on a mission to assist a crew of synthetics, all of whom are named Davis, in basically gathering samples for the corporation, for Wayland. And the fun part, the twist, is that the synthetics actually, or one of them anyway, turns on his programming and decides, no, I'm not. This is a colossally bad idea, and so we're not going to bring back samples of the xenomorphs. And so we're getting to issue 6 at this point. They're pretty well into the story, and it's one of those, like we were talking about earlier, where you don't have to show the bad guy all the time, and so you don't really see the xenomorphs that much, and so they build the suspense in other ways, and it's been really well done overall. I definitely am looking forward for this. I hope this keeps going for a while. I don't know how many issues it's supposed to be off the top of my head, but I like this one.
Yeah, it's been pretty good so far. I'm pleasantly pleased with it. I have no idea how long it's going to last. I'm actually surprised it's gotten to 6, but the story's been there, so.
And it's a good fit for this podcast.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I'm up next, and my first choice is from Marvel Comics. It is Nighthawk number 6, written by David Walker and illustrated by Ramon Villalobos. There are several reasons why I picked this book. It's been a very good series, and very timely, because this version of Nighthawk is from a series from several years ago, but he's based in Chicago, and it's very topical regarding things that have been going on regarding, especially a lot of things that are going on in Chicago. If you're watching the news, you know what I'm talking about, and you kind of understand. So I've been enjoying it, and I wanted to share my enjoyment with everybody. But unfortunately, the other reason why I'm picking it, because unfortunately this is the final issue. It has been canceled. I'm sorry to say, and because it's going down a path that some books would probably not go. And the fact that Marvel's doing it's kind of taking that risk. I applaud them for that. I mean, I give them a lot of crap about some other things, but they tried this, but they allowed David Walker to do this, and we got this far. And so that's bravo to everybody, and just a shame it's coming to an end.
They may bring it back in another form. We can only hope that.
Well, we'll
storyline or something.
Well, it may depend on how well it does as a collection. There may be some people waiting for the story arc to be collected, and they'll buy it then, and then maybe that will show that there may be an audience for this, and yeah, they may come back. That would be nice.
I can see it happening.
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. Bless.
My first choice is by Kieran Gillen and Nahul Lopez. It is Mercury Heat number 12 by Avatar. This is the last issue of this series. It is a finite series, so unlike a title that would be just canceled, this one has run its course. In it, the heroine Louisa is at a point now that she is ready to kick ass, and she might even take names against the people at the station that turned the innocence there it made it into a charnel house. So I'm ready for this one. I think it's going to have a lot of gunfight to it. Nothing is going to be off limits, I'm sure. And I've been reading this, and it is an enjoyable series. I've got a suspicion that they will turn around and collect it, and we can only hope. But it is a fun series.
Very cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope they'll collect that too, because I'm kind of interested in checking it out.
It's hard to go wrong with Kieran Gillen anyway, but you know.
True.
Yeah.
Mikey.
All right. My second pick is a Boom Studios book, and it is Sombra #4. This is written by Justin Jordan and drawn by Raul Trevino. And if you're not familiar with the story, this is number 404, so this is going to be the end. The main character in this is a young woman named Danielle, and she is a second-generation federal agent. But her father has gone off the reservation, and he has disappeared into Mexico. And she's tasked by her superiors to find him and bring him back. And without going into too much detail, she finds him, all right. Whether she's going to bring him back or not remains to be seen, because we're down to ultimately a battle between her father's friends and one of the cartels down there. And so, yeah, we're getting ready for a big battle here. It's going to be very exciting, and it'll be interesting to see how it wraps up.
That's cool.
Yep. Good choice as well.
Should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. My second pick, I'm kind of going back to the theme of the show and this month, from American mythology, and it's Three Stooges, The Curse of the Frankenstooge. So, okay, a 48-page special of the Stooge getting the crap scared out of him. Okay, come on, guys. I mean, what could go wrong here? That would be awesome.
Totally.
Written by S.A. Check and Christopher Hill, with art by Brendan Frame, Brian Frame, and Adrian Rope. And I'm probably butchered their names, and I apologize for that. But this ought to be a lot of fun. Ought to be a blast. Kind of reminds me of the very few shorts they did that were a little bit more on the spooky side. They didn't do that many. Most of them were more just kind of general. So, ought to be fun.
Totally. How can you go wrong with the Stooges?
I wish I'd thought of
it. Well, Les, what's your pick then?
My second pick. My third pick? Second pick. Second pick.
Second pick.
Is from Boom Studios, and it's called Skybourne, and this is number 2. It has spies, it has intrigue, and it has Frank Cho. That's all I can say about it. The number 1 was a lot of fun to read, and I'm expecting this one to elevate. It's a 5-issue series, so I've got a feeling that this one is going to be another top-notch run. Frank Cho knows how to draw people, and I've always enjoyed his work. Everything from Liberty Meadows up, even his work for the Big 3. So I'm ready for this one too.
He's a pretty good storyteller. If I remember correctly, the end of the first issue had a OMG moment. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
so yeah,
it makes you say, "Where's number 2?"
Yep. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing what goes on with issue 2. That's good pick.
Thanks.
I know you have an honorable mention. I have one as well. Mikey, do you have one?
I'm actually having a hard time limiting myself because there's an awful lot of my favorite books coming out next week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rein it in a bit and just say Birthright number 20 is coming out, and that means the end of an arc. And it is as I keep saying this week, it is hard to go wrong with Birthright.
Right.
Very true.
Exactly. Very true. My honorable mention is from IDW, and it's called Ditko Unleash, and it is a collection of pages and scans from Steve Ditko, who, if you're a comic book fan, I would assume that you know that name, the co-creator of Spider-Man, creator of the Creeper, the Question,
Shade the Changing Man.
Shade the Changing Man, Blue Beetle. Was he part, or is he just?
I think he was one of the creators of the original Blue Beetle for Charlton.
Right. Okay. Several other characters. This is actually, if I understand correctly, a collection that was put together for exhibit. It's a museum catalog, as they refer it to, for an exhibit that is touring in Spain this fall. I know Les is a fan of Ditko's work. I am too. So any kind of collection that features his artwork is definitely going to gain some interest from us.
Very true.
Alrighty, Les, your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is a trade paperback from Boom Studios, Abigail and the Snowman by Roger Langridge. We've spoken his praises before on podcasts, and this is a collection of 4-issue series that came out, I want to say, late last year. 9-year-old Abigail has a huge imagination, and she becomes fast friends with Claude, a Yeti that has escaped a U.S. government facility. And it's their exploits, yet Claude is being chased by the Shadow Men, and they have to come face to face with them. It was a fun read. I use that term a lot, but this is an all ages, and I believe that most anybody can pick it up and enjoy it. Langridge is both a fine writer and a good artist, so his artwork fits everything that's done here.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we're all Langridge fans here as well.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly hope so. Hopefully our listeners are too.
If not now, hopefully we can convert them. It's good work, definitely. Awesome choices as always. Pat on the back, guys.
Yay.
Yay. Any special mentions this week? I have one.
Well, you do yours.
You guys got anything? Alrighty. Obviously, Comic Fest, Halloween Comic Fest is coming. Saturday, October 29th. Go get your free Halloween comics, and I'm sure your favorite comic book store is going to have some events and some sales and who knows what else they got planned. But go check it out. This is the 3rd annual. I don't see it going away. It seems to be as popular as Free Comic Book Day in May. So for more information, go to www.halloweencomicfest, that's one word, .com, and you can check out what the selections are for this year, and you can find out what comic store near you is going to be part of it. I would assume at this point your local comic store would have already been would be mentioning some of the things that they're planning to do, but definitely go check out the website, and so you can start thinking about which books you're going to pick up that Saturday.
And as far as that, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, and as far as that goes, your local comic book shops may also have the packs of small comics for Halloween giveaway. They average about $5 a pack, and there are 25 copies of the comic in the little bag. That's going to help me out because that's what I hand out at Halloween, and I think that it's a fine investment.
Yep, that's true. I'm sure your local comic book stores already have them now, so hit them up and give out comics instead of candy. Keep the candy yourself, guys.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying. Jeez.
Hell yes.
All right. Any other special mentions?
Nothing here.
Not yet.
Okay. All righty. Okay, let's get into our shout-outs. As always, we want to thank Manny the Martyr for our awesome music for credits. Thank you guys for allowing us to use it. It's much appreciated. Please go check out their Facebook page. We'll have a link in our show notes, and if you go to our podcast page, there will be their logo. You can click on that, and I'll take you to their site. So much love to you guys. Appreciate it. I also want to shout out to #PodrunFamily on Twitter, the family of podcast people out there promoting their websites. They've taken time to spread the word of the fellowship, and it's much appreciated. And Mike and I do our darndest to return that love. It's much appreciated.
Yep. Special thanks to Jake and Tom Conquer the World. And now that I'm older, this week, those guys are really getting in the habit of shouting us out on Twitter. So thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, guys. If you want to check out some podcasts, if there's a particular niche you're looking for, go to Twitter, do a search, #PodrunFamily as one word. There are podcasts of anything and everything. Some really cool people out there. Show them the love.
Yep, there's a bunch of, especially, I mean, given our topic for this week, there's a bunch of movie podcasts, and there are international podcasts. There are casts from all over the world in there. I mean, mostly like English-speaking stuff, so mostly like from England and from Australia and New Zealand, but all over the place.
And of course, our final shout out is to you, dear listeners. Thank you for downloading the episodes, and thank you for listening. It's much appreciated. We always look forward to hearing comments, criticisms, and questions. If you have something you'd like to share with us, please do. You can always go to our website. Once again, it's www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can go to our About Us page, and there's a contact form there. Or you can shoot us an email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can contact us via social media. We are on Facebook, the Fellowship of the Geeks. And as we already mentioned, we are on Twitter, @Fellowship Geeks. Please give us a follow. Mikey has his own personal Twitter account, @MikeyGeek. And I have one as well, @TomTCGeek. Give us a follow. Let us know what you think. And
yeah, let us know what scary movies you like. Let us know if you read Sutter Kane.
Do you read Sutter Kane? All right. Anything else? Or is that about it for this week?
Give us, if you get the opportunity, wherever you're downloading us from, if it's your own whatever app you use on your phone, or iTunes, or Stitcher, or Google Play, or even if you listen to us on YouTube now, give us a rating, a thumbs up, whatever your particular choice of device allows you to give. And if you have a couple of minutes, throw a review in there. Tell them what you like about us. They tell us that these things help us for somehow. I am a little fuzzy on how that works, but that's all right. It's just another way to kind of throw in your 2 cents about what we're doing here and give us some suggestions or just some general feedback. However you want to do that.
Yes. Please rate us and review us. It would be much appreciated. Thank you, Mikey. Anything else?
I think we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you had a good time. We always do. And until next time, support your local stores and read more comics. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,